Well, there we go. That is the end of the 27 MLS season, and my goodness, words cannot describe what I've just watched in this MLS Cup between LAFC versus the Philadelphia Union. I mean, we knew coming into this game that this was going to be an epic matchup. Well, we didn't think that this would actually turn out to be such a chaotic game where, you could even say peak MLS and MLS After Dark, and that maybe is an understatement because, my God, this is going to end up to be probably the greatest MLS Cup game we have ever seen in league history, and maybe even one of the greatest playoff game we have ever seen in league history. And I cannot imagine what the emotion has to be for both of these fan base watching the full 120 minutes and even went to the PK shootout in this one. But as it is a cup final, unfortunately, somebody has to win and somebody has to suffer a crushing defeat. And in the end, I want to congratulate LAFC of winning MLS Cup 2022 and winning their first ever MLS Cup in franchise history, but also definitely give my condolence toward the Union fan base because, yeah, this is definitely going to go down as one of the most heartbreaking loss a team could suffer in league history. Now, early on in the first half, I want to give credit to John Strong and Stu Holden, the fact that they remained silent in the opening minute and let the atmosphere kind of speak for itself, because we knew coming into this game the atmosphere was going to be absolutely electric, and the 3-2-5-2 definitely bring it throughout this game, and that again, yeah, I like the fact that the announcer they in a game so early like this they can easily kind of round up, talk about how big of an epic matchup it is, but I give them definitely some respect in terms of the fact that, yeah, let's just hear the atmosphere and let's hear the moment for at least a minute, because for most of us that aren't, unless you're one of those lucky ones or one of those 22,000 so that was in the stadium, you don't actually get to enjoy this in person. So to kind of even hear it just for a minute with no commentary, it just felt like I was there, even though I was watching this on TV. Though in the third minute, the first shot of MLS Cup came as Cifuentes had a long-range effort that goes wide. I thought the Union was being too loose at the back. And again, early in the game, there's going to be a lot of nerves. And especially, I thought that Union backline, the nerves was kind of getting them a little bit because they were turning the ball over in a bad position. But the good news is, maybe that's the same case for this LAFC team, especially on the attack, because they really couldn't capitalize on some really bad turnover that you usually see LAFC are able to capitalize. I mean, after all, that's what they kind of feed on throughout the season too. Vela then had a curler that was deflected and it goes high. Now, I know Vela eventually did get himself on the assist chart in this, but I didn't think he had a good game in that one, and that, I know he, of course, eventually did get subbed off in this game, which, if you would told me coming into this game that Vela, of course, would be subbed off in the biggest game of his MLS career, you would think that's kind of crazy, but I think in the end it was kind of the right decision, and I'll talk about why in just a bit. Well, maybe near the end of this video. But 15 minutes in, there was only 2 shot registered by both team again. I thought it was kind of a game where I don't want to say it was kind of cagey, because I thought there was times where both teams tried to push to get this opening goal. But yeah, there was that time that you can see it kind of become a little cagey, and kind of a classic cup final where both of these teams don't want to open themselves so early because they don't want to give up that first goal that could really dictate how this game goes. I thought the Union had a lot of the possession, and I thought LAFC was just happy to sit back and hit on the break and capitalize any mistake at the back that the Union was committed. I don't think that's a bad strategy, because as I said, the Union, they were a little bit suspect at the back, and they were just playing it very loose, especially those center backs and that defense, or even in the midfield in the first bit of this game. Biso then blasts one into the stands after Crepeau. I thought he got away with a bad mistake here. Like, he basically didn't punch this ball away when it was coming into the dangerous area. And yeah, most of the time when we see goalkeeper make that mistake, most of the time you don't get away with it. But fortunately for Crepeau, he got away with that one. But then in the 28th minute, we got ourselves the opening goal of MLS Cup. It's Kellen Acosta that gets the opening goal for LAFC, but this has to be a tough luck here for Jack McLean here in the wall here, where it's just one of those where it kind of came off the wall and deflected into the back of the net, and that is exactly what we saw in this play. And yeah, that gives LAFC the 1-0 lead, though the shots were still in favor of the Union up to that point. 5-4 in favor of them, and possession was 58-42. Again, the Union continued to dominate possession, but still, they were just kind of being a little bit lackluster in the final third and just cannot quite crack that LAFC backline. Carranza did have a chance in the 35th minute. In fact, I thought this was a great half chance for Julian Carranza because, he was kind of open there, but I think he kind of leaned back a little bit too much and he blasted that one into Rosette. Then in the 39th minute, Blake, he robbed Palacio here in the front post, who's trying to poke that one in. And I think Stu Hogan immediately mentioned the moment that Blake had in the last game where he robbed Callens in that Eastern Conference final, and talk about how it's similar to that. And in some way it's true because, it's a big moment during that game. Even though it's still in the first half, you do not want to go down 2-0 against LAFC in an MLS Cup. So that was a huge save that Blake, of course, made here. Again, showing why he's the goalkeeper of the year this season. Vela then tried to stab it into the back post, but he just missed that one. Yeah, that's definitely one that he wants to have back. But there was no doubt that I thought the momentum was with LAFC. Like, they were looking to trying to get the second goal, and you can even see on the TV that Blake was trying to calm this Union back line down, because again, it was very shaky, this Union back line. There was a lot of jitter that they were suffering through the first half, and again, they came close a couple of times to conceding that second goal. Ibiaga then had a crucial challenge on Uru as he was on goal there. And then on the other end, Rongo actually blasts one high as I thought the game started to open up. Again, and this is not a big surprise because once we saw the opening goal of the game, you knew both of these teams has to eventually maybe open up themselves a little bit. And also knowing the fact that both of these teams like to play quickly on the attack, you knew eventually this game was going to open up. And it's not going to look like what we see in the first 30 minutes where it's just going to be kind of a cagey affair. But we do head to halftime with LAFC leading 1-0 against the Union, and in the second half, the Union continued to dominate possession and look to get the equalizer early. But I also thought the Union was still being too loose at the back. And again, they've been very lucky. The fact that LAFC hasn't punished them because of it. Elliott then in the 51st minute had a very, very nervy moment as he actually, when he was jumping up to win this ball, he actually swing his arm toward Arango face, and then of course he of course was called for a foul. Now keep in mind, Jack Elliott was already on a yellow card. He picked up very early in this one, and that I think they even mentioned, I think Stu Holm even mentioned that if this was a regular season game, that probably could have been a second yellow, and I think he hit that one right on the head. I mean, again, in an MLS Cup, and especially in the playoffs, we have seen before where referee tends to be very lenient in terms of some of the calls, and maybe some of those one that we see that is being called in this one that maybe is just going to be a warning or maybe just a yellow card when it looked like clearly it should have been a red card. Yeah, those that of course could be the case in the regular season. I mean, a great example is what we saw in El Tráfico, where remember when Ricky Puig decided to headbutt I believe it was Murillo there, and that he only got away with a yellow card there, and that I even mentioned if that was the regular season, yeah, Puig would definitely got himself sent off, and in this case, again, I think he would Elliott would have got sent off with a second yellow card of that. I mean, he didn't really do it intentionally, which I think that maybe is the reason why he kind of got away with it, but it was getting to that point where, yeah, he was really walking a tightrope in terms of getting himself a second yellow card. And then you mentioned there's only one player that has ever been sent off in an MLS Cup, and Jack Elliott almost becoming that second player. But that being said, in the 58th minute, the Union equalized. It's Daniel Gastak scoring for Martinez to tie the game up at 1 apiece, and this one came off of a set piece, and get used to hearing me say that word a lot because that was a key story coming into this game, and this really was almost a carbon copy of what we saw in the equalizer that the Union had against NYCFC, where their opposition just kind of completely switched off. Like, LAFC completely switched off here. They were all appealing for offside when it was pretty clear on the replay Gastak was in an onside position. And yeah, just like that, the game was tied up at 1 apiece. We then had some coming together between Gastak and Moreno, who decided to have some choice words. Something tells me they weren't asking what they're going to do after MLS Cup is over or what's their off-season plan. But I thought the game was really starting to be wide open again. With this one tied at one apiece, I thought maybe both teams was trying to push for a winner, trying to get that crucial second goal to win them MLS Cup. There was then a bigger coming together after Cifuentes decked Blake after he was trying to head that one in, and this was another one of those unfortunate situations where when you come in the corner, the attacking player is going to try to attack to that corner that is taking in, and the goalkeeper, of course, is going to come out to trying to catch it. And this was just kind of an unfortunate situation where Blake clearly got there first. Cifuentes, there was no way he can pull back in terms of basically making contact with Blake. But yeah, when you do that, you're definitely going to draw some tempers from the other team, and it's no surprise that of course is the case. But Arango then puts a one hopper right to Blake, and they show stats where LAFC have scored the most goal in the final 15 minutes, while the Union has gave up the least amount in the last 15 minutes. So just a classic kind of the immovable object meet the unstoppable force, and it turns out that unstoppable force would break through, because in the 83rd minute, it's Morelos scoring from Vela here to make it 2-1 in favor of LAFC, and yes, that came off of a set piece. It came off of a beautiful delivery from Carlos Vela. I mean, questionable defending there from the Union and that set piece defending, but Morelos took advantage of it. And yeah, it looked like LAFC got that crucial second goal for them to win MLS Cup. But then you remember, this game is not a normal MLS Cup game, or really just a normal MLS game. I mean, I've seen some crazy MLS game, but you knew that in a game where, throughout this playoffs, I talked about how it's been kind of uneventful. It feels like maybe the MLS gods, or maybe Don Gabbert, secretly trying to make this game as interesting as possible, to realize that it's been kind of an uneventful playoff, because just 2 minutes later, Jack Elliott would score from Wagner to tie the game up at 2 apiece, and guess what? It came off of a set piece, and again, just criminal defending there from LAFC, just falling asleep at the wheel there, letting Elliott kind of getting a wide open header. And when you allow a wide open header to a 6'6" Jack Elliott, yeah, you're going to be punished, and he heads that one in to tie the game up at 2 apiece. Holland's Head did try to get a third one for LAFC, but he flicked it one wide from close range before he had even a bigger opportunity. And again, if it wasn't for his team winning MLS Cup, he's going to think about this all off season long, because he was on the doorstep of goal and he was trying to stab it in. I think it was Murillo, the one that hits it down, and that, again, Holland said he was right there. Like, he could have made any contact with it, but I think he maybe misread that a little bit. I mean, they mentioned on the broadcast the fact that maybe that one took a little bit of a spin off the ball. I didn't kind of see it like that way. I just think Holland said just simply missed that one, and that was an unfortunate moment for him, but certainly a fortunate moment for the Union, and especially for Andre Blake, who is able to claim that one. And yeah, we remains tied after regulation, which means for the second straight MLS Cup, we're going to extra time. And in the first half of extra time, I thought Blake, he got away with a mistake here after, well, actually I would say that it's now Blake's turn to get away with a potential goalkeeping howler after he came off his line there and tried to clear that one away. Now, he did clear that one away, but the problem is he cleared it right to Bowanga, and I think he is very fortunate when that ricocheted off of Bowanga that the ball just had enough pace to trickle that one out, because if that ball did not go out, that's a tap in into the empty net by Bowanga, and that would definitely be a nightmare of a goal to concede if you're Andre Blake, and definitely not a great moment to kind of solidify the reason why he, of course, won Goalkeeper of the Year for the third time in his career. Martinez then blasted wide from long range before in the 97th minute. Like I said earlier, Bale, of course, was eventually summoning in. I mean, there was a lot of question I mentioned in the preview of whether or not if Gareth Bale and Chiellini was going to play, and it turns out that Bale actually was in this game, and little do we know, as a little foreshadow in what I'm going to talk about in a couple of minutes, he would have had a big impact in terms of this game. But he was summoned for Carlos Vela. And again, I was very interested to see what Vela reaction is going to be, because Carlos Vela does not like to get subbed off, and especially in this big moment. But I was kind of surprised that Vela wasn't very upset about this. And I guess maybe this is just him knowing the fact that, hey, I gotta take kind of my self-esteem aside, and that you just got to do what is best for the team. And obviously, you got a guy that has won multiple Champions League during his career, so you know that he's gonna step up in big moment. And I know even though Gareth Bale hasn't played in a month, you just kind of had a feeling, if he is gonna get that one chance or maybe a half a chance, he's gonna put that one in again. Just a little foreshadow and maybe a little spoiler of what we're gonna see in the end of this game. But that being said, I'm just gonna quickly get the sport out because I ran out of room. I mean, I wasn't surprised. I ran out of room. Like, as soon as I knew this one was going to go to extra time, I knew I was going to run out of room. So, instead of bringing my travel boards, I decided to bring my second boards to write down the remaining notes of what we saw in extra time here, or at least for the remaining of the first half extra. Well, actually, you know what? That should be good enough. I don't really need to clip the other one there. As long as I have one that is secure, it should be fine. But the other thing that I started to realize is that fatigue was starting to show on both of these teams. And again, it's not a big surprise. It's been a very intense MLS Cup where both of these teams has been battling for 100 plus minutes. Carranza did have a chance in the 103rd minute, but he just heads it high from close range, and he did not miss by much. But Blake then denied Tello from long range in the 105th minute. And we head to the last 15 minutes, still deadlock at 2 apiece. And then, as we head into the second half extra time, we had a very scary incident. So, what happened in this play was it all started with just a WTF back pass from Morello there. He clearly underhit that back pass, and that goes right to Corey Burke, who was through on goal. And, Maxime Crépeau, he was definitely brave to come off his lines, and that not only the fact that Crépeau wasn't able to get to the ball, but my God, it was a nasty collision that he has with Corey Burke. And it looks like originally I thought Burke got the worst of it, but it looks like it was Crépeau the one that got the worst of it, because they were mentioning the fact that he was being carted off by a golf cart. But the 3-2-5-2, they were definitely chanting Crépeau's name as he was loaded onto the cart. And I also want to give credit to Fox of not showing the replay when Crépeau and Burke collide with each other, or even showed that the medical staff was working on Crépeau and trying to get him onto the cart. Because I remember, I think it was like maybe a couple of months ago, remember there was this one incident in I believe it was a Monday Night Football game between the Bengals and the Dolphins, and how ESPN showed multiple replay of Tua basically getting slammed to the ground, and you can clearly see Tua was concussed, and he even did like a signal that shows that he was clearly concussed and going through a seizure. And it was kind of disgusting, the fact that they not only showed the replay of that, but they showed it over and over and over again, show the medical staff of him working on it. And honestly, in a scary incident like that, we do not need to see that. Like, we do not need to see that kind of situation. It's not appropriate when you are trying to broadcast a general audience. And that, again, I thought that, Fox could have easily done that, but I definitely salute them and give them a lot of credit not to do so, because when you have such a serious injury like that, and you can tell it was a serious injury, like the whole crowd inside Bank of California Stadium, they were in stunned silent, and you can even see the 3-2-5-2, they immediately stopped their drumming, and even chant Maxime Crépeau's name as he was being loaded onto the cart, as I mentioned. And yeah, like I said, it was a very scary incident, but thankfully it looks like, well, actually I wouldn't say thankfully, because Crépeau looked like he was carted off, and I thought originally it was maybe a head injury, but it looks like maybe it's his leg that he of course injured himself. And obviously Corey Burke, he looked like he was in a lot of pain. Looks like he was holding his head, maybe got a concussion, and he actually eventually did play for a couple of minutes before he was subbed off too. But yeah, that was a very scary incident in that play. And also, unfortunately, Crépeau, even though he of course suffered the worst of it, he did get a straight red. They didn't mention that VAR was looking into that, but I thought originally when you look at it, it definitely looked like it was a denial of goal score opportunity. And yeah, the referee had to show a red card. Obviously, the LAFC fans were not happy. Even some F-bombs that was overheard on the broadcast. But yeah, I mean, as much as it is sad to see that incident, I think in the end they got the call correct. I mean, Crépeau he did not get to the ball. He simply took out Burke there, and Burke was clean on goal there. That is a definition of denial of goal score opportunity. So here comes John McCarthy subbing into this game, and there's already enough drama in this game. So why not throw another narrative of a Philly native and a former Union goalkeeper, John McCarthy, playing? I think this might be his first appearance for LAFC because I don't remember he actually appeared as the backup goalkeeper. I think Crapo pretty much played every game during his time with LAFC. But yeah, what a story this is. John McCarthy facing against his former team and a Philly native in this one, and also Opoku was sacrificed in this one, and LAFC of course were down to 10 men. And then we would get 9 minutes of stoppage time in this one, which means that, yeah, buckle up boys and girls, because something tells me there's going to be some wild things that's going to happen in this 9 minutes. And there was. And it started with the Union getting what looked like at that point was the latest and probably the MLS Cup winner. When guess who? It's Jack Elliott again. I mean, Jack Elliott coming into this game, I think he was only like scored 5 or 6 goals in his career. He got a brace in this one, and really this was a moment where LAFC again just never able to clear their lines. How many times I've talked about when you don't clear your lines, you are basically asked to get score on, and they just never clear their lines there. The ball keep recycling to the Union, and eventually the Union was able to find a way to get themselves the third goal. And again, at that point we thought that was the winning goal. Like, we thought that was it. The game is over. The Union is able to celebrate with themselves with their first MLS Cup. But then again, you remember, this is not a normal game, as I talk about many times before, because after Boanga hits it right to Blake, I thought the Union was in full bunker mode. And I think another story of this season, and it's something that I have mentioned a lot of time this year, is that you just simply cannot go full bunker mode and just kind of seize out game. I mean, we have seen teams that have been successful, but I feel like this season that's also been one of the big things that I mentioned, how I've seen so many teams have blown leads and have give up late goals because of the fact that they just simply bunker and just pray for the best, and even mention many times the classic phrase row heave mode and trying to hope that you can survive. And yeah, the Union definitely went row heave mode in the last couple of minutes after they got what they fought with the winning goal. And again, how many times we've seen teams were punished because of it, and it's no surprise that that was the case again in this one, because in the 128th minute of the game, Gareth Bale scored from Palacio to tie this game up at 3 apiece. I believe they mentioned this was only the 4th touch that Gareth Bale has had coming off the bench, and this is why LAFC decided to bring Bale off the bench, knowing the fact that it only took him one chance, and we've seen him score some huge goal in his career, especially in the Champions League final with Real Madrid. He did it again in this one. That ties the game up at 3 apiece, and that basically sent us for the second year in a row to a PK shootout, and also for the second year in a row that this game would go the distance. So we go to the PK shootout, and you're thinking, are we going to have something similar to what we saw in the NYCFC versus Orlando City PK show, where just it was going to be an absolute crapshoot? Well, unfortunately, no. Instead, what we saw was kind of something similar to the game between the Union versus Nashville SC, and even maybe going back to when Sporting KC versus the San Jose Earthquakes, where simply one team was able to convert all their penalties and the other just completely crapped the bed in the PK shootout. Because after both teams, of course, missed their first PK, and that includes Gastak's slip and puts that one over the bar and into the stands, you just kind of had a feeling that was a foreshadow of what's going to happen, because the Union would then fall by missing the next 2 penalty kick. Of course, McCarthy saving both of those. I mean, it was great save from McCarthy, but both of those penalties was not good whatsoever from Martinez and Wagner. And then Elie basically steps up and converts the winning penalty for LAFC and delivered them with their first ever MLS Cup trophy in franchise history, as in the end, LAFC is able to win 3-0 in the PK shootout, and the Union, unfortunately, become only the 3rd team to get shut out in a PK shootout. They now join Nashville and the Quakes as the only 2 teams to get shut out in a PK shootout. The shots in this one, 17 shots committed, 16 that LAFC had, 8 shots on goal committed, 3 that the Union has, 9 shots off target for the 2 that LAFC had, 6 shots on walk for the 5 that the Union has, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that LAFC has. And if you made it to the end of this review and you've basically been maybe still feeling the roller coaster emotion after watching this game, I don't blame you. I mean, even me doing this review, I still have the memories of watching that of this game, and how, again, this was just an absolute bonkers of the game. And this is a classic example of why we talk about MLS being one of the up and coming leagues in the world, and how, you know, at times maybe it might not be pretty, but that's what it deliver, and that's what I think could help grow this league with this kind of entertainment. Because you can't tell me after watching this game you simply they have not been see an entertaining game. Like, this was an entertaining kind of game, and then some, with the way how both teams just left it all out in this one, just like what we see in a cup final. But like I said before, one team of course had to walk away with the trophy, one team of course has to suffer a devastating loss. And for the Union, again, I have to give a lot of condolence toward a lot of Union fan base, because this is, like, they have suffered a lot of heartbreak, but this is probably right up there, maybe the worst heartbreak they have suffered in their franchise history. But likewise for LAFC, you know, this has to be a great moment. And again, this, you know, we've seen before where sometimes when teams are in kind of a MLS Cup bust or mode, they usually sometimes don't get it done. And especially with LAFC, I believe, becoming the first team since Toronto FC to do the double, winning the Supporters Shield and also winning the MLS Cup. And I also talk about the dreaded Supporters Shield curse. Yeah, this is definitely an achievement that they definitely would be very proud of. And again, especially with the way that, you know, we've talked about last year NYCFC ending that narrative of them unable to get it done in the playoffs and they can't get out of the second round. Well, LAFC maybe have now finally shut up the narrative of not able to get it done in a big games, because again, throughout this one, they definitely face some adversity and just even face an impossible task to come back after finding themselves down in the 124th minute of this game. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of this game, and that is pretty much it, as I said, for the 27 MLS season. And, you know, as much as we won't have MLS soccer until February, remember, this is a World Cup year, and remember, this year World Cup, it's going to be happening during November, and that I can't wait. That it, you know, even though this is kind of the finale, it kind of almost felt like an appetizer of what we're about to see in the World Cup. And yes, I will be doing review of every single World Cup game, just like what I did in the 2018 World Cup. And you better believe I'm definitely going to be doing extensive review whenever the U.S. are in. I mean, I honestly are a little bit nervous of how the U.S. is going to do, especially with a lot of the question. But one thing I know is that you know, I know this World Cup, there's going to be a lot of controversy surrounding things that's not related to soccer or football, but I simply can't wait until the World Cup, of course, begin and see some of the best player in the world play in that tournament, and we'll see who, of course, will of course be World Cup champion, or France potentially maybe ending the World Cup curse, where it feels like whoever wins the World Cup the previous year, they always find their way not making out of the group. So yeah, I'm excited to see how that's going to be. But until then, I definitely will continue to make some MLS content. I of course have to do an emotion index and even do a video where now looking at how we're up to 14 teams that have won an MLS Cup, and I think there's about 15 others that haven't won it. Who's going to be potentially be the next one to finally win their first ever MLS Cup after LAFC was able to do so after this game. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.